Yes. Okay, recording now. And I think, Golfo, are you doing demos today?
I'm doing demos, I think.
Oh, Julia's doing demos.
Okay. Yeah. So welcome to week 5. And yeah, Cynthia, we are very pleased to start your demos for the day. I'm very excited because I think I'm the only one who didn't see the code the whole week.
Sometimes we have a little bit of rockiness right at the beginning, and then it gets going. Cynthia, if you can hear us, maybe it'd be good to leave the Zoom and then come back in.
Should we try reaching out to her on Slack?
Yeah, I'll reach out to her here.
Hi, Alex. Just some internet connection issues.
That's okay. That's okay. We can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, let me enable.
You want me to start the demo?
Yes, please, if you can.
Oh, okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. You can see my screen, right? Okay. Yeah. So the issue we had to work on this week was to make sure that every time a purchase is recorded, the days left for the next purchase is also recorded in the database. So if I add an item.
Wait, I think I'm not seeing the.
So okay, all this unchecked. So if I come here, let me see. Yeah. So for the first time, the estimated, so the days left for next purchase will be still the it's going still to be the same with what the user has recorded using this house loan. But then when we try to make a new purchase, so we need to, okay. So I'm going to turn this up. You can still hear me. I'm going to take this last purchase and then convert it into milliseconds. Just to be able to uncheck. Oh, this one email just not okay. It should be plus plus. Okay. Then I'm going to take the date of now. Then minus this. Okay, so I'm going to add this to the date of now here, just to be able to uncheck that element. If you can still hear me. Okay, so as you can see, this is unchecked. So I'm going to check it again. And so if I come to the vegetables, I'll see that the days left for next purchase, it's there's a new estimated date and the number of purchases are 2 now. Okay, so now I'm going to run you through the code. So what I did, I first make sure that I add a field code because we didn't have number of purchases. So I made sure that every time a user adds an item, we'll be able to also
I think we lost you, Cynthia.
Yeah, she's frozen for me too.
I'm gonna reach out again on Slack. Oh wait, okay, she may be coming back.
very sorry.
That's okay.
Where was I when this internet broke?
You were just kind of starting to work through the code.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, okay, so I was saying that what I did was to make sure that anytime a user adds an item, a new item, so the number of purchases will be 0. And then, so when a user checks the item, then we increment the number of purchases, and also we change the days left for next purchase using this estimated days left function I created. So what it does, it's going to take the last estimate, which is going to be equal to the days left for next purchase, and then the latest interval. So in case the last purchase is equal to now, then it's going to take the last estimate. Otherwise, then it's going to take the difference between the date of now and the last purchase date. yeah, and then turn it into days by just doing this. And then the purchase number is equal to the number of purchases, and then we use this estimate. So we imported it here. The estimate, the calculate estimate that we've been given, and then we pass in all the variables to get the estimated interval, which is going to be returned here and be added every time there is a new record. Yeah, and that's what I did. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you so much for your journey through the code. I'm always impressed by how you calculate the estimated time in the console, not like my cohorts did, just leading some numbers. It was very clear for me what you did and very well explained. Thank you for this. Does anybody else have questions to Cynthia?
I mean, I'm not impressed by the code because we already went over it in a few days ago. Not that it's not impressive, but we went over it with Cynthia and Alex, and she explained it to us. And you know about the thing for calculating the dates, me and Alex, how much time did we have? We had like 15 minutes. We were trying to find the formula to to calculate a few days ago. And it was that simple, as Cynthia showed us.
Yeah, we were. I think we were overcomplicating it and then just confusing ourselves. And then, it all ended up well after that.
It was very fun.
Yeah.
And yep, Cynthia, great job, and great job testing it, because the testing part was the most tricky, and also figuring out how to calculate the estimates and all that. So you did a really great job, and thanks for the presentation.
Totally. Thank you, Cynthia. So then it would go to Jeremy. If you share your screen and walk us through the code.
Hi, good afternoon. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I still haven't been able to open Zoom on my laptop. So I'm sorry, but I'm still having technical issues and I can't share right now. I don't know if we can just move on and then come back, because like my system is having issues right now and I can't figure out what's going on. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me?
Sure. I think then we are starting with the learning module today. Is this
sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Jeremy, yes?
Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying that I was having technical issues and that I'm logged in with my phone right now. I will continue trying to sign in my laptop so I can present right now.
Yeah.
That was what I was. Yeah, thank you.
Would it be helpful maybe if someone shared their screen and we could walk through in that way? Would you be able to see that? Or
yeah, I think yes, that would be helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Does anyone I don't think I have the latest pulled down, Golfo or
Me neither.
Julia? No. Okay.
Maybe we can check it out on GitHub. And there's also, does anybody remember, there's like the sort of URL, if you type it in, it opens up a GitHub repository in VS Code.
Oh, great.
Let me check it out.
And you should be able to open the preview link from the PR in order to see the code in action as well. So.
Yep.
Golfo, would you want to share your screen with that? Or
yeah.
Okay.
I'll share my screen and try to test this out, this sort of plugin.
Awesome.
Okay, you can see the screen, and I was looking at this, that if you type GitHub 1S instead of just GitHub, it shows you the code in VS Code. So first of all, okay, let's find out. It's filtering the shopping list. So first of all, let's check out the preview to see that everything is working as it's supposed to. And what we have to check out, you should be able to search a list. So let me see. I'll just create a shopping list, add apple, orange, and orange juice. So here, for some reason, I think, did I forget to add a space? I added a space right now.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so we have to keep this in mind that it removes spaces when it's not supposed to. I guess it removes all of the spaces instead of just trimming the spaces around the words. Anyway, so for now, we have to search for, if I search for tomato, it doesn't return anything. Awesome, and it works in real time. Great, if I search for apple, it returns both apple and apple juice. Awesome. So the functionality is okay. Can anybody think of any other case? I also tried to add a space here, and it still works correctly. That's good.
What about searching in the middle of a string?
Yes, let's search for juice. Yep, that works too. Great. So the functionality is perfect. And let's go.
That's fascinating if it'll actually pull up the state of the code in that pull request.
Yeah, I haven't used it before. I just saw it somewhere a few weeks ago.
Oh, it's just the files that were changed?
Yeah, but I think that it's just the files that were changed because I opened the pull request. I guess that if I go here.
That's probably okay.
Yeah, that seems like it'll work.
And it's really cool. You can open any repo you want. Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
I assume any public repo.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Cool.
So, Janemi, do you want to walk us through, if you can guide me and tell me where to go and which files to open? I guess that we will go through list view and app CSS. Is this correct? Janemi?
Hello. Okay, yeah, sorry. Can we navigate to the list view?
Okay, I'm in the list view right now.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much. So first of all, what we needed to do was to create the search box. So if you move down a little towards like the return statements, could you please scroll down?
Scroll down in the same file.
Hello?
Here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Janemi?
Yeah, so I was saying, yes, exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you could see that up there, we created an input box and then we used the type search because one of the acceptance criteria was that when the user types in, enters a value into the input field, they should be able to click on a UI element to clear out the inputs. And so the input type search it implements that functionality like natively. There's no need to do any extra fiddling around to implement that, which was a mistake I made initially. And then when the user enters an input on change, as the user is entering the input, the state of the value is being set to whatever the user enters. And then we go here and it says if there are items in the shopping list array, that means if there are any items in the shopping list, then shopping list items that map. It means we check if the list includes any item that has the particular inputs, the string in input present in it, and that's basically the item that name that includes. We also change it to lowercase and then trim it just to make sure that there's no issue with it matching because of an issue of like case or an extra space at the end or anything like that. And then we return the item if it does contain the string that the user has input. And the default state of the user input is an empty string. So that means when the app loads, it's going to display all the items in the list. But as the user inputs a value in the field, then the list keeps, the results keep getting narrower until whatever is there fits exactly what the user has put in. And that was how we implemented it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think, the others just some CSS changes. It's not something, you added some CSS for the search box. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
And here we can see, I like this view better. We can see the changes directly.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. Awesome. Here's the search box. Yep, and Julia, maybe you want to ask something since you're handling the demos.
Yeah, could you go back to the demo again, to the app, to the app? I didn't realize if the button shows up when we're putting something.
Okay.
Sorry, I was again too fast to my eyes.
So here.
Yeah, when you write something, the button should show to the X button. Okay, sorry, it was here. I didn't see it. Yeah, great. So
it doesn't work.
I forgot to click it.
There you
So
go.
it will
okay.
Great.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very short code and very well written, and again, very well explained.
Thank you.
Great.
And I think it was the record for the fastest pull request.
Yeah, totally.
I think
Friday morning or Friday.
Yeah.
Friday, everything was done.
Yeah, no,
Really
for
good.
this specific one, I think it was the request for the first review was on like Monday or Tuesday from Community. So really fast, great work.
Totally.
It was very short and clean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Generally, this week was very smooth for both PRs. By the way, about the bug we found, should we make a note of it somewhere to handle it maybe in the final weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just make a note in Slack so we don't forget it, and later I'll add it onto GitHub. Maybe I'll add it in the issue, in the final issues. And let me see.
Well, in that case, I think that was great. I think we can move on to our learning module presented by Julia.
Yes. Yeah, try my best. I will share my screen. Okay, sorry, it's my first time using a MacBook to share my screen. Is there anything I have to?
I have to give it permissions to do that. I don't know.
I think the permissions are there, but it's not like share my whole desktop. I don't have this ability. Great.
Can you share just the window that has the slides in it?
It's oh no, I'm so sorry. It shows me that I have to do something otherwise. Okay, I tried again. Share my desktop. It says open system preferences, security and privacy to grant access. System preferences, security and privacy. Where is it? Is it meant in the on my MacBook itself or in Zoom? Because I can't find it in Zoom.
Well, if not, I could share and I could just go on to the next slide. Oh, wait. What's going on? Oh, it's me. Operator error. I was like on another tab and it was like going in and out. Anyway, I could share if that's
Yeah,
better.
this would be great. This
Okay.
would be great.
Do you have the link? You could send me like in Slack or in Zoom.
I have it on my desktop.
Because you didn't, were you able to find it in the drive?
Yeah, Andrew sent it to me.
Wait, what's going on? Do we have, so it's the I'm seeing code communication for devs. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, find it. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. And share. Here we go. Okay.
Okay, great.
You can just tell me when to go next.
Yes,
when you're ready.
I will.
Okay.
Okay. Today's learning module is about communications for devs. The three main things we're going to talk about, just for you to have a bit of an overview, is documentation, pull requests, and comments in the code. And the next slide, please. Basically, the whole theme of this learning module is that communication is really key as part of being a developer. And I'm sure we all had our experience just the past 4 weeks, communicating, whether it's written along within our thread for the developers as they go through their weeks and pair together, just letting everyone know where we'll be, what we're thinking, what direction we're going in our code. Communication is really key because we want to be able, our teammates, to understand what we are trying to do and accomplish as effectively as possible. To really preventing the back and forth that comes with not really explaining things as effectively as we can, and just also avoiding a lot of confusion that also comes with the back and forth of like not being as clear as we can be in the beginning. The next slide, please. So the first topic of communication for devs is documentation. Documentation, obviously there are many different forms of it. If we are using a different tool, just as you guys used Firebase hooks, for example, or Firebase itself, like going through the documentation to explain or to understand how the tool works. Maybe it's already the next slide. Documentation in terms of like if you're contributing to an open source project and you want to figure out how best contribute what is expected or how best you get the local setup. Documentation in terms of like what you write when you're explaining how to test your own PR, but we come to PRs later. In any case, writing documentation for ourselves can really help us map out where we really are in terms of learning to do some things in the code. Chances are that as soon as we learn how to do it and figure things out, we are not gonna remember the exact steps that we take, especially if we don't really know it in the beginning and we do a lot of trying and error and seeing things work out or do not work out. So documenting what you are doing really helps you not only understand where you are and how you got there, but also helps you remember if you have to go back and do the same thing again, but you don't know exactly remember the exact steps. So just as it can help figure out where you are, it also helps you learn going through the motion of figuring things out and writing them down, kind of reflecting of them as you go. It is super helpful tool for just helping you learn. And yeah, the number 3 here is it is a great tool for revisiting big decisions. So again, a lot of the times when we are not exactly clear on what steps we have to take to achieve a certain result or solution, we can go back and revisit them in terms of, okay, do I want to do the same process for this other task, or do we want to figure out, do we want to do it a certain way? Can we work with our teammates in that way, and sharing the documentation that you have already written? And not only is it a great tool for us to use personally for ourselves as we document, but it is also great for in a team setting, like if you're in a new role and there is not necessarily great documentation in terms of like onboarding new members, it can be really useful to have these sort of foundational documentations, like this is the process we are following. There is no confusion what comes next. This flows into number 5 in terms of avoiding institutional knowledge, which basically means things like you were aware of when you are working in sort of team, or if you're working in a company and the teammates know it because some things were always the case to do so, but it is not written somewhere. So it is not necessarily accessible for new people who come to the new team. And yeah, having the documentation just laid out for a new team member avoids that discrepancy between people who be in the job for a long time and just know how things work, and people who are brand new and figure out as they go. And this empowers all the team members. And tips on writing good documentation. Generally, you want to write for the person who knows the least, and optimize for the person who needs a quick reference and formatting as well. And we have an example here from React Router documentation. Thank you. Here it is very clear. You know exactly where you are in the documentation as you scroll down, and you have the description here on the left, and next to it on the right is the code the description is talking about. And this is very well formatted, I would say. Okay, thank you. Number 2 for this module is communication with regard on pull requests and making PRs as we build our project. As you all know, the purpose of making a pull request is to give your reviewers context on your code before it is merged into a bigger part of the project or the application in a whole. And this is an opportunity to explain why you made certain decisions and you made certain trade-offs as opposed to others. A big part of interviewing, for example, is talking and walking through a code and explaining why you made certain decisions. And here I want to mention one more time that all of you are doing such a great job of walking us through the code and explaining parts so well, and always have a good answer when we ask you why you choose this particular code. And yeah, it's really great. Thank you. Here are some examples that can really help writing a standard PR by, for example, sharing screenshots or videos on what the code does on the UI, or link to resources and permalinks to code your reference outside of the PR. So instead of sharing how you did some code, you can link it out, which will be shown in the example here. Yes, thank you. Yeah, this is an example of Stacy. So you can see that there are some links, for example, Firebase collection. Yeah, if you need a little bit more context on what she's explaining, and we can just check out the link with more detailed description about this particular topic she's working with. And this is a nice experience for your code reviewer when you have more to say. That can be supported by letting them decide if they want to click out and follow the link. And lastly, it is important to self-review before we ask others to review it. Ask yourself, if are my last chance acceptable? What questions might I have? Sometimes we're just happy to have finally finished the code and want the PR done as quickly as possible. But doing this extra step before asking others to review it kind of accelerate the efficiency of the communication between the reviewer and oneself, to prevent the reviewer to tell me to change something which I would have seen myself when checking it again before sending the PR. It saves a bit of extra time between updating the code and merging it. The third concept in this learning module is communication via comments in your code. And leaving comments in your code, especially when you are working in a team that's going to be reviewing what you have done, is really helpful because it gives your team context as they're going through your code, kind of in the same way that how we can document our process ourselves, let's stay externally and actually doing it and thinking about doing it in the same way. When you leave comments in your code, that is helping your teammates doing the same thing as they are reading your code, as kind of processing what this code should do. Having comments there also reinforces that, helps them think about it and gives the extra explanation for that why you choose to write this in this way. Number 2 here, code can sometimes be self-documenting, but the decision behind the code are not always self-apparent. It's the same thing like in software engineering, there's just an infinite number of trade-offs. Like in this case, it would be great to write it like this way, but maybe by doing a change, this code doesn't work out, so we choose another way. And when you leave a comment in the code, it really gives everyone a chance to understand why you made the decision to go in with this code and what your thought process was behind it. In terms of the how, rather set the focus on the why this code was written. Because your teammate will know by reading it what the code does as they're reading it. And so the comments in the code can give this extra explanation, reinforcing why you chose to go with this code. In this example here, we have a little conditional here, yes, the yellow part. And this is an extra explanation here, what the conditional does when this or that is happening. So the viewer understands what's going on. Yes, and now we have a little brainstorm session where everyone, the developers as well as the mentors, can share their experience with documentation or PR descriptions and code comments. Thank you for sharing the project. Does anyone want to start with their experience?
I can start. Generally, wherever I have worked, and we all say that we should have, good documentation, good PR descriptions, comments, etc. Sometimes it's not possible, or maybe we think it's not possible. We try to move fast, but I realized that you think you save a couple of minutes if you skip a comment or a good PR description, but in the end you spend a lot more time trying to figure out what's going on. So for instance, me, once in my current job, I made the PR, I asked my senior to review it, and he messaged me on Slack and he told me what's going on here. And I was like, you're correct, I didn't even give a description. So descriptions are very useful. And for comments, what I always say about comments is that I like them, they're very useful. But there's a problem with them. If you update the code and forget to update the comment, then the comment doesn't describe the code so well, so you have to be extra careful. And also remember to update comments whenever you update the logic of the code. And for documentation, lately in work, I updated some documentation. And that really helped a colleague of mine to understand something that he couldn't understand previously. And that saved us a lot of time. Instead of going back and forth all the time, he just read the documentation. So it's very useful. So these are my experiences. And also here in the Collab Lab, you make great PR descriptions, and it's really helpful for us to understand what's going on, to understand the issue you're working on. All that, thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia or Shanemi, do you have any experiences about, or maybe surprises that about communication that you have discovered since being in the Collab Lab?
Okay, hi. So about the documenting code with comments and stuff, I can't say that I've actually done it since we started. It's something I know I should do, but I haven't, but I will try to do going forward. But I remember when we first started, and then I worked with Katia on an issue, and the next week we're to work with Ibrahim, and we're sort of to pick up from where the last ticket left off. But I noticed that it was a bit hard because I thought our code was pretty obvious and explanatory, but it was a bit hard for him to read through it, and I had to walk him through again. And I realized that if neither I nor Katia were in that team, it would have been a lot more difficult for us to hand over our code to someone else, and it would just slow down the process and make everything difficult. So I see how documentation could have made the work easier for the other team whenever we're handing off, or it would just have made communication and working so much smoother.
Yeah, totally. I feel that's such a good point, because it's so for us, when we're just deep inside of our own code that we're writing, it's like, of course, this should be obvious to anyone, but it's really because we've been just like in it, and like we're the ones that have been making the decisions. And so then you start to realize, just like you said, that okay, now like how can I start making this a bit of an easier experience for the people who are going to take this code and run with it. That's such a good point.
And a month later you look at the code and you're like, oh my god, who wrote this complicated and bad code? And then you think, oh,
it was me. Yeah, you see like in VS Code, like Alex made these changes, like, oh god. Yeah, no, that's such a good point. Cynthia, do you have anything that you like surprised you, or that you learned, or that you're still noticing?
For me, also, I was about to say the same thing that Chinemi said. I believe code comments. I mean, if we would have put comments in our code, it would have been easy for another group to like understand what's going on, because I used to spend like a long time trying to understand what the other group has worked on. So adding code comments would have been better. And peer descriptions also was really helpful, like when trying to do code reviews. So yeah, definitely communication is key. I was actually going to ask, so for our last weeks, we meant to add code comments, or that's it?
It depends on what you all want as a group, as a team. I mean, I don't think that it's by any means like you're supposed to. If you think that like going forward you'll want to continue working on the project, it could be something good to do. But that's a good question to maybe bring up with the rest of the group and see what their thoughts are about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of to what you were saying about that, comments tend to be out of date once you change the code. The comments are like, I don't know, at least the way I like to approach it. There's comments that describe why you're doing something, or why you're doing it a certain way or something. That's actually usually more helpful than comments that describe, here's what the code is doing. Because the code can kind of tell you what it's doing, unless you're being a little too clever or something, in which case, or as a regular expression or something like that, right? But if you are documenting the why of what you're doing, then that's less likely to change. Like it's probably still, it might apply even if you change the mechanics of the code itself. So it's like I think it's kind of what you were saying, Alex. It's kind of a kindness to either yourself or the other team to leave comments that explain anything that's not immediately obvious.
Yeah, that's such a good point about it. Yeah, being kind of about the why, because also kind of going back to the presentation that you just gave, Julia, there's like infinite possibilities of what decisions you could make to write something. So yeah, just kind of explaining, using the comment here and there to explain like, okay, I chose to do this, I chose this path instead of another one because I don't know, it helps performance of the application in this way. But yeah, I think this is really one of like the most interesting subjects, like learning modules for Collab Lab, because I think too, Katya's not here, but before, like during the first couple of weeks, she had such a great comment. She was like, wow, I feel like I am writing novels with these PR descriptions. And it's like, yeah, it's an important skill to have, to be able to really like write about the code that you've written and like explain what's going on, and like list out like further considerations, or like kind of plan for the future with them. But yeah, it's something that you don't really realize from the outside, but then as soon as you start in on like a collaborative project like this, you realize it's so important to include
totally
good descriptions and good communication.
I also think it was very, sorry. Andrew, go ahead.
Julia. Oh, I was going to say, it's an exercise in empathy too, because you're writing trying to understand what context the other person has, and trying to fill in the gaps for them, right? So you know, if you're on a team, if you've been on a team for a long time, you kind of know what other people know. When you're first on a team, it's a lot harder to know kind of like, so it's probably in the early stages, it's better to overshare and try to provide all the, you know, a lot like more context than it seems like you should have to, because other people, you don't know whether they're gonna kind of be there with you or not. So
for me, it was very helpful to have the template from Collab. So because in the beginning it was like, okay, what exactly should I write? I'm not sure, and every PR looks different, but with the template, it really helped me to get, this is what it needs. And yeah, after a while, I didn't need it anymore because I already had it in my mind what to write. This was very, very helpful.
So helpful. I've actually used this kind of like structure to like inspire my own PRs like at work.
Totally. Mine too.
Because it's so much different than when you're looking at just like a blank screen and you're like, I don't even know how to write one sentence. And then when you have these little markers helping you out, it's like, oh, okay, I'll just write what's going on, and then like before and after, and it becomes so much easier.
Yeah, these templates inspired me too. And at work, I made a couple of templates that are very useful for PRs. But I want to, and yes, the templates are very useful for reviewers too, because if there's a specific structure, also the reviewers know what to expect. So they read through the PR and it helps them out too.
Yeah, great discussion, everyone. I am going to stop sharing here. Oh, I just should have continued, or yeah, because I'm going to be sharing the issues now. Unless anyone has anything else they want to add. Not the most elegant transition on my part. Sorry, everyone. Let me just get into issues 11 and 12, which is wild because we are almost
11, 12?
Yeah.
Really?
Right? Because
so there's only 13 issues, but that last issue is meant to generate the issues for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And this, I think it'll be a good opportunity as well. Let me get this screen out of here, because to be able to refactor and then to fix some like loose bugs that may still be in like the input with the spaces and whatnot. But 11 and 12. So for our pairings, we have Katya and Cynthia, and then Shanemi and Ibrahim. So those are the pairings for this week. This is the first issue we have on our plate. As a user, I want to be able to delete items from my shopping list so that my list isn't cluttered with items I don't want to buy in the future. So this is just a basic deleting items off the list in any way that you see fit. I think we've discussed this before, and I think our developers wanted to start working on this before, and then we knew to keep this to as an issue for a later date. So obviously when people write or type in their items for the list, sometimes they may make a mistake, or they may realize that they have something written there that's similar to another item in the list, and so they'll just want to delete it. So the acceptance criteria for this issue is that the user is able to delete an item from the shopping list on the UI. Before the item is actually deleted, there should be a prompt for the user to confirm that they really want to delete the item. And then once that confirmation goes through, like the user clicks yes, delete, the deletion should also cause the record in Firebase to be deleted as well. And so that is issue 11. And issue 12 is, as a user, I want to view a list of my shopping items in order of how soon I'm likely to need to buy each of them again, so that it's clear what I need to buy soon. And so this is just a suggestion of the possible states that we can use in this issue. So need to buy soon. So any item that that has like a next purchase date of fewer than 7 days, need to buy kind of soon. With this range between 7 and 30 days, need to buy not soon, so more than 30 days away, and inactive when there's only one purchase in the database, or the purchase is really out of date and really hasn't been touched in a while, and we can just list that as inactive. The acceptance criteria for this one is number one, items in the list are shown as visually distinct, so they stand out from each other, and this can be with a different background color. It can be really anything that you think is a good way to distinguish each item theme from one another. So according to how soon the item is expected to be bought again, here kind of the listing is up here. Items should be sorted by the estimated number of days until next purchase. So the items that need to be purchased sooner probably will go more near the top. Items with the same number of estimated days until next purchase should be sorted alphabetically. So within each category, you'll want to sort these like alphabetically so that it's a little bit more organized on the UI. And lastly, items in the different states should be described distinctly when read by a screen reader. And we have a little bit of a wireframe here. And again, it's not going to look exactly like this because already our app has its own style going on, but it's kind of just an example of what it could look like. So you see here that there's an option to delete, and so this can be like a link, or it can be some sort of button, or however that looks for however you want that to look. You can see as well that each of these little boxes have a different color, and so that can be as the checkbox color, it can be the background color of each list item, however you want that to look. For screen readers, we want to use an ARIA label to show how soon the user will need to buy the item, and based on how soon and based on whatever state the item is in. And yeah, so again, for this issue, you can go into resources and where is it? Resources, wireframes in the code base to be able to see this. This one was list populated for that. And yeah, I think, if anyone has a preference, you can let us know, but I think we've been pretty good with just kind of assigning. Cynthia or Shanemi, do you have any ones that jump out to you that you'd prefer to work on? And if not, we can just go ahead and assign.
I'm good with either of them. Thank you.
Sorry?
I said I'm okay with being assigned.
You're okay with being
assigned?
assigned? Okay, awesome. Okay, so then that's okay, Cynthia. Okay, so then in that case, I think that number 11, the deleting items, can go to Cynthia and Katya. And then number 12, Shanemi and Ibrahim, if that works for you. I think that'll be a great issue for the both of you. And yeah, I can't believe it's already the last, like kind of coming up on the last. It just sneaks up on you. Yeah. Yeah, does anyone have any questions just off the top of their heads? Obviously, we'll be available and able to answer questions in Slack, but if there's any questions right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to drop for the next
okay.
call, but
okay.
Nice
Thanks
to see
so
you all.
much.
Thanks for having me on the call. All right, take care.
See you.
Bye, Andrew.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah, so I think these will be good issues, and I think it's wild to me still just to like think, because we do have a few weeks left, and then I keep thinking that it's like, okay, it's issue, but really it's totally not. So this is going to be this is going to be great. How was the development experience last week for you girls? just to say, I am so proud of like the merges that happened so early. I feel like we got a weekend of just relaxing.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. It was fine for me. I tried to be really fast because I had to prepare for exams. I just get everything done like Monday, Tuesday, and then focus.
Yeah.
It was fine. I may have spent like a couple hours like on unnecessary code because I didn't initially realize that I could just do input type search, right? Instead of having to write the JavaScript myself or conditionally rendering the items, like clear the box and all of that. And then I didn't quickly realize that instead of I actually tried to go to query the database for to filter the items instead of just working with the shopping list that had already been returned. So I actually wasted some hours writing stupid code, but like
but that's okay.
Eventually.
That's totally okay, because you know what, I feel like I'm a firm believer that the longer it takes you to do something at the beginning, it's just like so much quicker later when you're like, oh, I remember when I spent so much time on this and now I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but no, I'm so proud of both of you. You've been doing such a good job, and just of all the developers here. And yeah, I think this app is really turning out to be wonderful, and I'm excited to really see the finished product. Even though we can really kind of see it, the preview now, I'm really excited to see the finished product, the finished version.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I hope exams go okay for you. I know it's a stressful time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, well, in that case, I think we can let everyone go. Thank you so much for these great demos, and Julia for a great presentation.
Thank you.
And we will add those. We'll add those threads for you for this coming week. All right, everyone. Have a good week, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a nice week.